Snow and COVID. The winter of our discontent got wintry and discontenty early because Colorado is about to see consequences and crackdowns for allowing the virus to surge again. The snow slowed the two largest fires in state history, and so did an ingenious move by foresters, something they call the catcher's mitt. We have a stack of answers for your election-related questions today. You'll be as smart as Marshall Zellinger by the time we're done. And I see dead trees. They don't know they're dead. The risk from Colorado's zombie trees. I swear they better not put up that photo of Haley Joel Osment just because I look like him. This is a serious television show. This is next. Hate to tell you this, but COVID-19 has gotten away from Colorado. And now county by county consequences are coming. We have seen a 77% increase in cases the last 2 weeks. There are only 3 states in America that have seen a bigger jump. We have hot spots right now in Denver, Adams, Arapahoe, Douglas, El Paso, and Mesa counties. Those counties and others are scrambling to come up with their own restrictions in order to avoid getting a solution slapped on them by the state's public health experts. We know that a second wave of shutdowns could wipe out small businesses, and it's not clear if that can be prevented. Denver is warning about the possibility of another citywide stay-home order. Mayor went so far as to shame, with faces blurred, a party full of people who were swapping droplets recently in defiance of the city's ban on gatherings like that. The city notes that Denver has had 16,000 cases and 300 COVID-related deaths since the start of the pandemic. Statewide, the weekly average for new cases is closing in on 1,400 per day. Cases, as we know, correlate with testing. We're doing a lot of testing, so we're going to find a lot of cases. But look at that mountain on the far right side and how much it exceeds the previous peaks in terms of case counts in April and July. Hospitalizations, we always say, are the more helpful number because that isolates the most serious cases. And we are up 55 patients in the daily count since Friday's total. There are now 513 Coloradans hospitalized with COVID-19. We drove right through the warning sign of 5% test positivity. Colorado's weekly average is 6.58% of tests coming in hot. Nobody at this point needs to know what to do. People know it. They just need to decide if they're willing to do it. Our first words to you here tonight were not about the wildfires, so that alone points to the positive impact from the snow we've seen. And firefighters got extra help as the East Troublesome fire barreled towards Estes Park. Help from a fine bit of forestry, something Rocky Mountain National Park rangers call the catcher's mitt. Here's Steve Steger.
Yesterday's meeting, I talked about the fuels treatments that the park has done. I've also talked about a catcher's mitt.
It's a term we heard over and over this weekend. Catcher's mitt.
I talked a little bit this morning about what I call the catcher's mitt.
Fire managers on the East Troublesome say the catcher's mitt on the east side of Rocky Mountain National Park may have helped save the day.
It gave us something to work off of and to build off of.
So what the heck is it?
We all know what a catcher's mitt looks like.
Park spokeswoman Kyle Patterson says that foresters inside the park have gone all Tony Walters, creating a space around Moraine Park and Upper Beaver Meadows where fire would slow down as it moves east towards Estes Park.
Over the years, we have continued to make a lot of effort in that area for fuels reduction.
They've thinned the forest and done some controlled burns, tying all of that into the road system and into areas that already burned in the 2012 Fern Lake fire to create an area where the fire wouldn't have as much oomph and firefighters have more of a chance.
We do all that so that we can be ready along Bear Lake Road or that stretch of Trail Ridge Road to try to catch it before it heads into the Estes Park community.
This weekend, it worked. Firefighters were able to do their work, and Estes Park, for now, is safe. A reminder that when you see trees cut down and controlled burns inside the park, there's a reason.
It's hard sometimes for people to accept when you're taking down trees or doing pile burning or lighting a match in areas to do prescribed burns.
Rangers up at Rocky think at least 31 square miles of the park have burned. It's going to be tough to look at for a while, but when it comes back, obviously we know that part of the forest is going to be healthier. It's also going to be a natural fire break. Words simply cannot describe what you have done for the thousands of Coloradans evacuated due to the wildfires. Next viewers have raised more than $470,000 since last Wednesday. $470,000 to pay for hotel rooms and meals and other kinds of support for the evacuees, all through the Red Cross's Western Wildfires Fund. Just a reminder, we keep these donation links live long after each week's micro-giving campaign. So even though it's Monday, a new week, you're welcome to still give. You can text the word thanks to 303-871-1491. Or even once we move on to the next campaign, you can hold on to the donation link for the future. Let's talk about all the good that you have done in this awful year with your $5 donations. You have now raised $1.4 million for Colorado's nonprofits since June. That is real impact, and I hope it's something that you're proud to be a part of. And on Wednesday, I'll be back with our next Word of Thanks campaign. It's some targeted help for the most heavily impacted parts of Colorado dealing with wildfires. Right at this very moment, a majority of U.S. senators have voted to confirm Amy Coney Barrett to the Supreme Court. The vote is still going on right now. Colorado's Republican Senator Cory Gardner helped to block Merrick Garland's nomination to the High Court months ahead of the 2016 election, said in that case it was too close to Election Day.
If you could take the politics out of the place, she would probably have a unanimous vote. Unfortunately, the politicization of this nomination is going to prevent that.
Colorado's Democratic Senator Michael Bennet supported Garland's nomination and this year opposes Amy Coney Barrett's confirmation.
My hope, Mr. President, is that we can mark this as the moment that the American people said enough and began to reclaim their exercise in self-government.
Well, those two men, they can work together even if they don't agree, and they also agree that everybody should vote. And ask questions. If you don't quite get something about this year's election or the ballot or whatever, ask. That's what we're here for. And by we, I mean politics guy Marshall Zellinger, who's the one who does all the actual hard work.
Amy from Instagram, what if the ink bleeds through on the ballots? Is it no longer good?
Amy from Instagram, you're okay. We will be able to figure that out. We actually designed the ballot so that races on the back don't overlap, so that you're not bubbling in something on the back. But if you're concerned about it, if it really bled through, get a replacement ballot from your clerk. You've still got time to do that up until 7 p.m. on election night.
If someone participates in early voting, then dies themselves after casting their ballot, but before the actual election day, is their vote counted?
If we get their ballot and it's processed, it absolutely already counts. There's no way to pull a ballot out of there. It's a similar question to, I want to change the vote on my ballot, right? You can't pull it out. Once it's processed, I don't know which ballot's yours. It's mixed in with everyone else's.
I just completed my mail-in ballot as a resident of Jefferson County. Under the signature line is another line with today's date, and next to that line, another space, witness legal name. Am I required to enter the date? What if I don't? Does that invalidate my ballot?
We love when people read our materials this closely because someone's paying attention. Thank you so much. You do not have to date. We prefer you date. It helps us with our processing, but we actually used to say sign and date. We removed the and date because it's not technically required. The only thing required is your signature.
We've got a lot of questions about these, and I feel like the wording of this has always been awful. It's a violation of law for an individual to receive more than 10 voted ballots for mailing or delivery in any election.
That basically it means you shouldn't vote. You're not allowed to drop off more than 10 ballots in any one election.
Why can't it just say no one person can hand in 10 ballots total from other people?
It is terrible legalese, and I like what you just suggested. I think it is better. We'll look at that for the next race. Maybe you've got a neighbor you know hasn't been leaving the house because of COVID. You offer to take their ballots to the drop box. That's all fine as long as you're doing no more than 10.
Let's be clear, it is not you can vote 10 times. It is you can take other people's ballots with you when you're dropping them off. We have a lot more questions to go through throughout the week, Kyle. Some quick hits here. If it says first, middle, last name, do you have to sign your first, middle, last name? No. Sign the way you're used to signing. And my wife and I dropped our ballots off last night, you know, in Denver and other places that have these tags on top. You're supposed to take the tab off, but the instructions don't say what to do with them. What do you do with them? Do you need to keep them? Do you throw them away? It doesn't matter. Although in Larimer County, they suggest using it as the I voted sticker because they don't have those in what they send out. So just kind of like tuck it here.
Yeah.
show off for a week.
Tuck it in your pocket. Okay, so funny story. I know that you, of all people, will appreciate this. So you have got me so freaked out about whether my ballot signature matches the ones that they have on file that, like, I get myself like all psyched up to sign my ballot over the weekend, and I'm gonna nail this, like just like I always have. And I go and I'm partway through the sign, and the pen runs out of ink, like runs completely out of ink, and I just make like this big scratch mark. So I didn't know what to do, and I thought about texting you, but I'm like, that's obnoxious. So I just took another black pen and very carefully like traced over it.
So follow the ballot trace. It'll say received, I believe is the language when your ballot is taken in. And it will say accepted, meaning the signature has been approved, I guess. It'll say rejected if there's a signature problem, and you will have time, which we'll get into in another story, you'll have time between now and 8 days after the election to fix that problem and have your vote still count.
It's causing significant anxiety. Okay, thank you, Marshall. The behavior of a not-so-wild turkey indicates someone needs a reminder that's not how you Colorado. Some of this state's trees have died, and yet they don't appear to be dead.
A zombie tree would basically be a tree that thinks it's alive.
That's obviously not good for the tree. Worse for you and your property if it comes down. So let's talk about what to look for next. We had previously asked on this program if remote learning was going to kill snow days. Answer is a definitive no. Jeffco, Cherry Creek, Douglas County, and Aurora all called snow days today due to the weather. These were kids out enjoying the day or being put to work by parents. Those districts worked off of their pre-pandemic snow day criteria. Denver schools did switch all in-person students to remote learning for the day. DPS said it was just trying to avoid lost instruction time.
Wow, is it cold outside. Temperatures this afternoon in the mid-teens after 24 hours of 5 inches of snow in Denver and about 1.5 feet in the foothills and mountains. The high temperatures, far cry from where we should be, which is lower 60s, and it's only going to get colder tonight. The snow ending from north to south, the heavier snow bands shifting off to the east, high pressure settling in, and with that wind shift, it's going to give us a warmer day tomorrow. A few snow advisories still hanging on for a couple of additional hours, but most of the accumulating snow has come to an end. With clear skies, light winds, and good radiational cooling, temperatures are going to drop into record territory tonight into the single digits. Denver's low 3 with a wind chill of -11. Tomorrow, sunshine and 42. Now that feels nice. Halloween doesn't look too scary at all. We're warming into the 60s for the weekend, and that trick-or-treat forecast, well, kind of an early preview here. Low 40s when you step out and mid-30s when you head back at 9 p.m.
So most Coloradans are very good at Coloradoing, but occasionally some need a reminder. That's not how you Colorado. So now wild turkey has led to a lot of poor decision making over the years, but you really cannot blame the turkey for this. It was just out trying to be wild when some foolish humans fed it. There's a CPW officer working the Cameron Peak fire, thought that the bird's strange behavior was fire-related distress. Nope. He quickly realized, no, that's just a bird that has been trained that humans will give it snacks. A no longer entirely wild turkey. That's not how you Colorado. What do you say we take a minute here to play our favorite name game? What do you say? We're going to go in search of the pronunciation of a recreation area in the Gunnison Basin, the place that's home to the famous Blue Mesa Reservoir. You see it there on the screen. Our viewer, Katie, says she loves to go camping in that area, but has never figured out how to pronounce the name. So we reached out to the National Park Service to ask, what do you say?
We often hear folks say everything from Currican or Curricanti, or, you know, just people won't even try. They're like, how do you say this? Well, you hear a lot of things, but most of us pronounce it as Curricante. Curricanti is the name of a Ute gentleman. Some people say sub-chief, some people say chief, but he was well known within the area.
Did anybody else hear her say it 2 different ways? I swear she said it 2 different ways. Curricani, that's what we're going with. Okay. All right. What mangled name should we sort out next? You can decide. Email suggestions and questions to next@9news.com or get our attention with the hashtag HeyNext on social media. No surprise whatsoever, but the votes are final, and Amy Coney Barrett has been confirmed by the U.S. Senate to the Supreme Court. She is expected to be sworn in at the White House tonight by Justice Clarence Thomas. They're standing tall, but already down for the count. after a brutally dry year in Colorado.
Some signs of hazards in the tree are going to be dead limbs, cavities, decay.
The hunt for zombie trees. Next. There are zombies among us. They look alive, but they're dead. They're trees, specifically. Our Byron Reed explains.
Jay Judd gets a little anxious this time of year.
When Halloween time comes, you know it's about to be winter and about to be cold.
He's the assistant district manager for Davy Tree Expert Company in Denver and says October is when they usually start getting reports of people seeing something strange in their yards.
A zombie tree would basically be a tree that thinks it's alive. So a tree that probably has a good vascular system, but it has a lot of decay inside. The bone of the zombie.
Judd says it's a result that can be caused by cold weather.
Frost cracks would be an even bigger issue, mainly on the south side of the tree where the sun comes out. The sun kind of scalds those and opens up wounds, and that's where your decay is going to start. That's the beginning of a zombie tree right there.
The Colorado State Forest Service says residents dealing with broken tree limbs after this past weekend's snowstorm may be considering actions to protect and repair them, like carefully knocking snow off branches and removing branches that are broken.
Pruning is usually a good practice if you have a limb that may be weaker. You could do some pruning to thin out the ends, less surface area for the snow to catch. Kind of like a hand out there just waiting to grab the snow and break.
Judd hopes these tips will get homeowners ready for the spring.
The springtime, when we get those heavy wet snows, that's when the damage comes.
To help prevent getting phone calls next year about things going bump in the night.
Thinning out the ends, getting rid of those hands.
For next,
I do not believe in zombies. No.
I'm Byron Reed.
Those hands. Back with the most Colorado thing we saw on this snowy day, and your feedback next. The most Colorado thing we saw today is a shovel buddy. Especially if you have a lot of sidewalk to clear, helps to have a friend out there for company, even if that friend can't shovel, because obviously dogs don't have opposable thumbs. So just riding along in the backpack for moral support. A neighbor next to you named Morgan snapped that photo for us today. Just love that. Finish with your feedback, and Sharif Abdel Hamid writes in, says, Kyle, you ain't kidding when I heard you recently call Marshall Zellinger the smartest person you know. He kind of proves it daily. He's been propping my sorry behind up for years. Brenda asked for a reminder on how you track your ballot. So Denver voters have been able to do this for years. You can now do it statewide. If you go to the website govotecolorado.gov, you can sign up for either method there. David Qualls, please confirm, did the snow put out the fires? It slowed them down. That's important. See you next time.